So today, we're gonna unpack a massive shift in global power. Seriously, it's a contest that's quietly reshaping our entire world, pitting the system we've always known against a powerful new force. Let's dive in. Think about it. For most of our lives, for over 75 years really, one system, led by the West, has basically written the rules for everyone. It's the only world most of us have ever known. But what if that's all about to change? Because right now, that entire era is facing its biggest challenge yet. To really get what's happening now, we've got to first understand the champion in this fight, the system that's been running the show for decades. So, what is this system? Well, the experts call it the Liberal International Order, or LIO for short. But honestly, the best way to think about it is like the operating system for the entire planet. It was built after World War II with one huge goal: to stop another world war from ever happening again, by promoting stability through big institutions we all know, like the UN, the World Bank, and the IMF. But you know, like any system, it wasn't perfect. And over time, some pretty serious cracks started to show. For years, a lot of nations in the global south felt like this system was rigged, pointing to things like voting rights at the IMF that always kept the old powers in charge. Then, 2008 happened. The financial crisis absolutely shattered global confidence in Western economic leadership. And at the same exact time, the West was dealing with its own problems, everything from accusations of hypocrisy to the rise of America First nationalism and Brexit. The whole order was under some serious strain. And right into that chaos, that uncertainty, a new challenger steps into the ring. And the crazy thing is where this challenger came from. It didn't start in some high-stakes political meeting. Nope. It started in a Goldman Sachs paper back in 2001. The acronym BRIC for Brazil, Russia, India, and China, it was just a catchy name for some up-and-coming markets. It was never meant to be a political alliance, but that's exactly what it became. And this chart, wow. This chart tells the whole story. You see that red line? That's the G7, right? The old guard, the established Western economies. For decades, they were way up top. But just look at that blue line. That's the BRICS nations. Watch it. It just skyrockets, and then boom. Right around 2020, it crosses the G7 line. That single moment is absolutely huge. For the first time ever, the challenger's combined economic muscle, when you measure it by purchasing power, was bigger than the champions. And that economic power was about to turn into some serious political ambition. So what do they actually want? What's the agenda here? Well, the BRICS bloc, and by the way, it's grown to include South Africa and it's still expanding, they're not just about money anymore. They have a whole new vision for a multipolar world. That means a world with many centers of power, not just one dominated by the West. Sure, they're trying to get more influence in the old clubs like the IMF, but here's the kicker. They're not waiting for permission. They're building their own parallel system, one based on the ideas of national sovereignty and not interfering in other countries' business. And if you want to see this competition in action, you just have to look at one place: the battle over who funds and therefore who influences the developing world. Okay, so this table lays it out perfectly. It's like a tale of two banks. On one side, you've got the old champion, the World Bank. Here, the power's weighted, so the Western nations that put in the most money historically, well, they get the biggest say. And their loans? They often come with a lot of strings attached. You know, demands for certain political or economic reforms. But then on the other side, you've got the challenger, the BRICS New Development Bank, or NDB. It's totally different. It's built on a principle of more equal influence for its founders. And it offers loans with way fewer political conditions, which really appeals to countries that just want to build things without what they see as Western meddling. And this isn't just talk, right? The NDB is out there right now funding huge projects, and they're really focused on things like clean energy and modern transportation. It is a real, tangible alternative for developing countries. And just so we're clear, this challenger has some serious cash behind it. The New Development Bank didn't just dip a toe in the water, no way. It launched with an initial authorized capital of $100 billion. That number alone instantly made it one of the biggest development banks on the planet. This was not a symbolic gesture. This was the real deal. But here's where the story gets really interesting. It's not just a simple us versus them or one unified team against another. The reality is way more complicated. There's a major plot twist. The truth is, neither side is this perfect, unified force, not even close. You look inside BRICS and you've got massive rivalries simmering, especially the huge strategic competition and, yeah, actual border disputes between its two biggest members, India and China. And you gotta ask, how How can a group with both democracies and autocracies really speak with one voice? But hey, let's not pretend the West is all holding hands. It's just as fractured, dealing with populist nationalism that makes people question old alliances, not to mention the deep political divisions tearing countries apart from the inside. Neither side is a monolith.
So you've got two incredibly powerful, but also kind of fractured blocks wrestling for influence. Where does that leave us? Where does the world go from here? What's the final round even look like?
Okay, so analysts basically see three roads ahead. The first one is something called managed pluralism. It's messy, but maybe it works. Old and new institutions kind of exist side by side, and countries just pick and choose who they partner with depending on the issue. The second road, it's a lot darker. It's a bifurcated world. Think a new Cold War, where the globe splits into two separate, competing zones, one led by the West, the other by China. And then there's the third scenario. It's just disorder, a world where neither side is strong enough to lead, and the whole system just fractures, leaving us unable to solve the big global problems.
So a clean win for either side? Yeah, that seems pretty unlikely. And this quote really sums it up perfectly. The future isn't going to be about one single rulebook. It's going to be about negotiation and the coexistence of various roads. The age of one superpower calling all the shots? Well, that's over. We are now in a much more competitive world.
And that leaves us with the biggest question of all. For the last 75 years, we pretty much knew who was writing the rules. But now, with new powers rising and whole new systems being built, that pen is up for grabs. And whoever gets to hold it next, well, that's going to define our entire century.